The Battle of Cuito-Cuanavale was the biggest conventional war waged on the African continent since the Battle of El Alamein World War II. It is also sometimes referred to by many as the Black Stalingrad. In this video we will debunk the shocking myth of FAPLA Cuban victory over the South African Defense Force and UNITA, in the war against Angola FAPLA forces supported by Communist Cuba and Soviet Russia. Before I proceed, please like and subscribe to my channel. Please stay with me till the end to uncover how UNITA, supported by the South African 6-1 MEG and the Air Force, destroyed the Cubans and Russian forces in Angola, despite their military inferiority. The Cubans, Angolans with their Cuban-Russia allies had a military superiority with 300 T-72 tanks and sophisticated missile systems, more than 10,000 men against the 3,000 men of SADF. The deadly first Soviet missile system SAM-7 was employed in this war. The war began not long after Angola became an independent country from Portugal in November 1975. The battle lines were drawn along ideological conviction of the Cold War, the West against Soviet communism. The Battle of Cuito-Cuanavale was fought intermittently between the 14th of August 1987 and the 23rd of March 1988, south and east of Cuito-Cuanavale. Following Angolan independence in 1975, the Marxist-orientated Party Popular Movement for the Liberation of Angola, MPLA, under the leadership of José Eduardo dos Santos, ascended to power and set up a government. However, the triumph of the MPLA was not celebrated by all Angolans. Civil war broke out between MPLA and the Union for the Total Independence of Angola, UNITA. A titanic power struggle erupted between the two former anti-colonial guerrilla movements, the Communist People's Movement for the Liberation of Angola, MPLA, and the Anti-Communist National Union for the Total Independence of Angola, UNITA, led by Jonas Savimbi. Cuba and Russia backed the communist guerrillas MPLA, whilst UNITA was backed by South African forces who tried to prevent the furthering of communist ideology in Angola and Namibia. The battle, or more correctly termed the Siege, of Cuito-Cuanavale was fought on the banks of the Lomba River in the vicinity of Cuito-Cuanavale, in southeastern Angola. The prelude to the battle started in July 1987 when Angolan government forces, FAPLA, attempted to advance on Jonas Savimbi's UNITA stronghold at Mavinga, the strategic key to his base at Jamba near the Caprivi Strip in southern Angola. FAPLA was the military wing of the MPLA. 14 Angolan and Cuban brigades under a Russian commander began a large-scale attack on UNITA on the 14th of August 1987. SADF troops were rushed in to support UNITA. After weeks of preliminary skirmishes, the two armies met at the Lomba River on the 6th of September. Throughout September and October, the SADF repulsed several FAPLA attempts to cross the Lomba and destroyed most of the latter's vital bridging equipment. Repeated counterattacks by the SADF 61 Mechanized Battalion Group resulted in the annihilation of FAPLA's 47 Brigade and the loss of its remaining bridgeheads, sending the remainder of the FAPLA units back towards Cuito-Cuanavale. The SADF forces attacked Cuito with the massive 155mm G5 guns and staged attack after attack led by the crack 61st Mechanized Battalion, 32 Buffalo Battalion, and later 4th SA Infantry Group. By defeating superior Russian and Cuban-led forces, destroying military vehicles and equipment, and seizing the first SAM-7 missile system. The victory was so much impressive, bearing in mind that the SADF had an insignificant smaller armor arsenal of tanks and no missile offense or defense systems. On the 23rd of March the battle reached a halt. In the words of 32 Battalion Commander, Colonel Jan Breitenbach, he writes, "The UNITA soldiers did a lot of dying that day, and the full weight of FAPLA's defensive fire was brought down on the heads of SADF, Regiment President Stein and the already bleeding UNITA." FAPLA, backed by Cuba and Soviets, lost 94 tanks, 100 troop carriers and 389 logistical vehicles. By comparison, the SADF and UNITA only lost 3 self-propelled artillery pieces, 6 troop carriers. More than 4,700 FAPLA and Cuban soldiers died against 31 men of the South African Defense Force. 9 Russian MiGs were lost and only 1 Mirage fighter jet. The SADF and UNITA beyond all doubt were victorious over their Soviet enemies. Let's also never forget the brave role of the elite force of the SADF called the Reckies, who paved the way for the victory with their clandestine and highly secret missions to disrupt the advance of the enemy.